perhaps this child knows what to do. However, maybe their belief is, I am special only when I receive attention. So I'm going to keep my adults busy with me. So more I don't do this, the more the adult, negative or positive, I'm getting attention. Or it might be power struggle. You can't boss me around. I'm the boss. So I'm going to take this control.
Hello, everybody. This is Madhuri here. We are here with our new topic, Teaching Responsibility the Positive Discipline Way. And I have Yogi Patel here, the master trainer from Positive Discipline Association. I would like to, ask Yogi herself to give her introduction, and then we can proceed further. So, Yogi, over to you.
Sounds great. Well, thank you, Madhuri, for this experience. I am passionate about Montessori and positive discipline. So what a better way for me to communicate both and how to combine them. So my background is in Adlerian psychology and positive discipline, along with child development. I have a degree in early childhood administration. I have a Association Montessori International diploma in primary education and a management certificate from Harvard Business School. And through my own children, I became familiar with Montessori, opened 2 schools in 2001, and retired or left the school business after becoming ill. But I'm in great health, and what I love doing now is sharing Montessori positive discipline with folks who were similar to me when I was raising my kids.
That's wonderful. What motivated you to, join positive discipline as such, Yogi? I understand most of us, me being a mom also, I was pretty much curious about what Montessori is, and everybody, jumps into Montessori because we find it so, amazing for children, right? But what put you through, what was the exposure you got about positive discipline that motivated you to join?
So accidentally, I found a Montessori program because my husband drove to work and saw this school and had placed my oldest daughter, who's now 29, in a Montessori program. And this was in Atlanta, and it was AMI recognized. And the school actually had many parent education nights. And they told us exactly what they were doing, how they were doing in theory. And it was inspiring. And then I had my second child who also went to a Montessori, but then we moved to Atlanta. And San Diego. And when we moved to San Diego, we realized that the education that we wanted similar to Atlanta wasn't there. So I went to a Montessori program and became a primary teacher, opened a school in my home, and it grew. So as it grew, accidentally, once again, I end up at a seminar. Didn't know it was positive discipline, and learned many tools that were just so inspiring. And it connected so well with positive discipline, Montessori, home, work, school, that in my school, as we grew, we started with 12 students and quickly grew as we moved to a larger location to 4 classrooms very quickly within a year. So the teachers needed some support. I needed some support. And parents were asking us, hey, what do I do? How do I discipline? How do I guide my child? So Montessori parent educations and added Montessori positive discipline combo really just changed the school, my life, my parents' life. And that's how I began to offer positive discipline. First, I became a positive discipline for parent educator, then for classroom educator, then early childhood educator, and workplace. So it's just been a growing experience.
Wow, you have series of certifications in positive discipline. That's wonderful. And I'm sure you are having years of experience now. So when we say positive discipline, how is it different from conscious parenting or gentle parenting or positive parenting, they say? Can you elaborate on that?
So even when I was raising my children, there were so many books and so many programs, so I could understand this question. So conscious parenting, positive parenting, gentle parenting, look at empathy and firmness. And positive discipline was founded by Dr. Jane Nelson by the first book in 1981. Dr. Lynn Lott and Jane Nelson wrote their first book, Positive Discipline. And it's based on Adlerian psychology and looks at cooperation and problem-solving skills. We're looking at behaviors that we have and understanding that behavior and looking at skills that we can develop in our children that is long-term.
All right. So we generally say, right, children's relationship with their parents undoubtedly influence their development, right? Be it social functioning or their school achievement or their mental health, anything is directly linked with how their relationship or their bonding is with their parents. So what can parents do to build that, kind of connection when you're saying kind and firm kind of connection with the child? So how do a parent do that?
Well, many parents are doing this so beautifully, right? Creating routines, spending time. Nowadays, this is a little bit different than when I was raising my children. We didn't have cell phones. So that's the first thing. So we tend to be like, yes, honey, but connecting, really just connecting and spending that time, having story time, right? And telling stories, not just from sometimes the books, but just from our past experience. Storytelling is one of the greatest ways. And modeling. So in positive discipline, we speak about modeling children, as we know, 0 to 3 in Montessori, we speak about the unconscious absorbent mind. Children are picking up all the information from their environment. Yeah. And 3 to 6, they connect with this information. So when they're watching and learning, their mirror neurons are firing and they're just watching and mimicking. Modeling is the first thing. Modeling the behavior we want and breaking things down age appropriately and just showing them. It's all about, you remember this excitement, as you know, the toddler's like, I do it, me do it. And that goes on till 6. And then hopefully we're not saying, no, that they just stop asking, but we're saying, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Maybe we can do it now or later. Or what do you think? And asking them what they think, including them in just day to day. That's one of the ways that I think we can create some of that resiliency, mutual respect, and encouragement, which is what positive discipline is all about.
Yeah, I can so well relate to it. In fact, recently I had this parent, she called me and we were talking about her child, and she was saying that my daughter, she is very less expressive. Even though we talk, she has vocabulary, but when it comes to expressing herself in right words, she finds it very difficult. So this is what I was asking her. Do you share your emotions with her? Do you talk to her? She said, no, I just ask questions. I said, you have your answer there. Unless and until the child doesn't know how to express herself through you, how will she? You have to model, right? How will she learn all by herself? She may feel sad, she may feel unhappy about something, she may feel excited about something, but she can only express it when she knows how to express it. And that comes from parents, that comes from the adults that are there in the environment. So yeah, it makes so much sense that modeling is critical for every adult, every parent that has a young child around them.
Yeah, and children are making beliefs, right, about themselves, about the world, and everything around them. So, I am, others are, the world is. So at this time, their experiences are so limited. And you're right. It's like, I'm feeling frustrated. So frustration is the word that we often use. Yeah. But what's really below that frustration? We can go to the sad, mad, and glad. But when we can expand that, like other parts of the word, sad, are you disappointed? Are you exhausted and tired? Or are you feeling that you're hungry? Like those are all ways to get to the feeling. So what is it that you're feeling? And when they have that feeling, you're so right. We're able to have the child, when you name it, you tame it. We've all heard it. So when the child is able to express themselves, and when they can't, when we can't express ourselves, how do we feel? I know that I have hearing loss, and sometimes when I can't hear, my forehead gets crinkled and I'm like really intense. How can children express some of these emotions or find different ways to communicate with us that they want to share? And they sometimes share that through behavior. And then we want to stop the behavior. And in positive discipline, we're always looking at problem solving and doing this in a mutually respectful way and non-punitive way.
Yeah, that's also one of the interesting things, that one of the parent behavior that often is considered detrimental for this parent-child relationship, and for their healthy development is the physical punishment that is awarded or whatever to them. How do a parent deal with a difficult situation if they themselves are under stress or anxiety, or they themselves feel frustrated? In such situations, how do you think that parents can, deal with their child when they are also out of control? I mean, as per the parents, out of control. How do you think they can, help the child over there?
So without elaborating too much about it, Dr. Daniel Siegel speaks about brain in the palm of the hand, right? So the lower brain, the flight, fight, freeze, the emotions, that the amygdala, and then the cortex is the brain model, and frontal cortex, this is where critical thinking happens, and then the cortex. But when our buttons get pushed, what happens? Raw emotions. So what do we need to do to get, and we call this the flip lid, but if we, in order to calm and gather and connect and really connect our frontal cortex, what do we need to do, right? We as parents have to take care of ourselves. Being able to maybe exercise or finding a way to walk away from that situation. Because one of the things that I loved in one of the other trainings I had heard is, well, this is the reptilian brain. And what did the reptiles do to their young? Well, this is not probably the best time to solve problems with our children or teach them a lesson, right? So we might need to come to hear. And for me, it's really important to have routine for myself. And then helping our children have that sense of order is happening, right? So they need to have everything in certain order to be able to feel calm. Yeah. And I think adults, we need routines. We need to be able to have time to may it be a bath or a walk. And when we come and gather and show our children that we do that, or in the problem situation with a problem and we're flip lid, maybe we can teach them by modeling how we take that time in, right? We call it time out or time in. Dr. Jane Nelson has written a book it's called Jared's Cool Out Space. And it speaks about how do you create a space in your home or in your classroom. And it's a really humorous book. And it shares some of the steps on doing that. So for children to know, so mom can say, you know what, right now, I'm really upset and I love you. I can't talk right now, but I'll be back. Or do you want to create a space? And when the child feels really upset, they have a choice. Or this something like online, and you could put pictures because toddlers are not able to read quite yet. And you can say, count till 10, or, like blow 5 times, like as fingers, like, and breathe in. So maybe we can do that. What other ideas do you have? What do you want to do when you're upset? Maybe we can have a water bottle with some oil and color, shake it up and look at it. Or what are some of the things that you want to have? How are you going to regulate? And when they're upset, they can even flip this little thing, and wherever it lands, they can choose it or choose one of those options to calm. And parents could say, oh, if you don't want to do that, maybe I'll do that. I think I'm going to breathe. And that's modeling, right? Oh, mommy needs a moment.
So we are talking about responsibility, teaching responsibility to our children, the positive discipline way. So how can one introduce the concept of discipline, responsibility to a toddler? Because they are so young, they are still developing their understanding in this world itself. So anything that we tell the child he's not ready to take in, especially a child who's below 3, a toddler, isn't it? So can you suggest some age appropriate strategies that we can, work with the children who are below 3 or below 6 years also?
So toddlers, they're sponges and want to help contribute. One of the ways that I know that I worked with my children when they were younger is we wrote down all the things that we do. So we said, what do we do in the morning to get ready for school? And then I would write it down, or you would draw some pictures, and then creating a routine chart. Like, this is how we're going to do this. You wake up. What do we do first? Do you want to help every day make your bed? Let me show you, taking the time for training and helping them create this, putting the bed sheets properly or whatever that might be. Oh, and then what do we do? You get dressed. So maybe what can we do to pick your clothes? So it's not in the morning when they say, no, I don't want this one and that one. And negotiation begins because I want you to stay here so we could have this special time. But having some of those strategies, so inviting children to do a lot for themselves instead of us helping them over and beyond, and creating a routine from it. And what I'd like to say also, when they make that bed, it's good enough. So we don't go back and correct it, because then the children are going to be demotivated, discouraged from trying that again and again. So child size, remember, it's 2-year or 18 months, they were helping at their own stage, having cut flowers around the house or going to the garden and picking flowers and having some vase around so they can just put water and flowers in our home. That's contribution. When we're cooking, for example, and they're able to help us chop. Once we do some of these beginning stages of work on showing them how to, we can get into, now every day, what would you like to help with? Who wants to this week be in charge of making all the shoes are in the shoe place? This is, who's going to help us set the table? Who's helping with the laundry folding? Who's going to take care of the socks? Who's going to make the towels into squares and then rectangles? So these are some of the ways we can incorporate and give them responsibility. And that means responsibility. So who's responsible? The child. And when we say you're responsible, we have to walk away. We have to put our hands down and say that overcorrection mode, right? The perfection parent. But having to remember that we've had at least 20, 10, 15 more years ahead of them. So we've evolved and we've got these skills, but the children are just beginning. So good enough.
Absolutely. I see that in my nephew. He's with me right now, and he's 2 years old. So everything, we just have to tell him. Now we just set a routine for him where every morning when he wakes up, he removes his clothes and puts it in the laundry basket. Now we don't even have to tell him. He goes, the first thing that he does is picks up those clothes. Even if it's a fresh cloth, he doesn't care. He just collects them and then puts them in the laundry basket because it was placed in a spot where he always goes and collects them. So I can totally relate to what you're saying, because it's the children have the order, the sense of order at this age, and they are pretty much fascinated by that order. They are everything that is there in order attracts them somehow. So they are in that sensitivity towards order. So yeah, absolutely. If we give them that opportunity, and that is a part of routine, a consistent routine, yes, children definitely, takes that particular task as a responsibility. So true.
They absolutely love it. You're so right. And they do a great job at it when they're toddlers. And, later on, they might have more thoughts and procrastinate or have other things. But as toddlers, this is the best time for them to learn things, because they will diligently, like you said, take care of their task.
Yeah, that's so true. There is this question that I constantly, hear from parents, and that's, I ask my child, and I have done so many times the same activity with my child. But once I ask the child to do that activity or the task alone, they don't do it, or they do it only once I start nagging them. So how can this be, changed in a young child, especially?
This makes me smile because now we're looking at behavior, and it's Dreikers wrote about it, who worked with Adler, and Dr. Jane Nelson at Positive Discipline. We speak about this, understanding behavior. So perhaps this child knows what to do, However, maybe their belief is, I am special only when I receive attention. So I'm going to keep my adults busy with me. So more I don't do this, the more the adult, negative or positive, I'm getting attention. Or it might be power struggle. You can't boss me around. I'm the boss. It's, so I'm going to take this control. Or it could be revenge. I'm hurting. Validate my feeling. Maybe we are overcorrecting or whatever might be going on. And what they're saying is, I'm hurting and I want to hurt back. Or they give up because assuming inadequacy. I just can't do it good enough. So I might not try. So what are some of the things that we can do? Break the task down. Perhaps if there is overcorrection, or maybe we are taking control, but it's their error, control of error, problem solving, because they're making the mistakes and they're learning from it. None of us are walking the way we do without practice and falling. And if we saw falling as a mistake, we wouldn't have learned. And children are constantly doing different things and they're learning from it. But if we overcorrect or overhelp, what is going to happen? Similar to that butterfly that we speak about, right, in the cocoon. The boy is looking at this cocoon and the butterfly is spinning. And if you help it, the butterfly falls to the ground and hasn't had enough time to pull the moisture out of the wings, and it's unable to fly. So the struggles are actually amazing. Those wings are really getting strong, as we all know in Montessori, that we invite the children to have those struggles and knowing our role. What is our role? What is this behavior? What is this our babes need?
Yeah, it's us. It's us. We just don't realize how we are affecting the child. Yeah, that's so true.
Mm-hmm. And we're busy sometimes. So our subconsciously, like we're just walking around and rushing. And we say, do this, do this. However, maybe there's too many commands that we have of a child. They don't have the concept of time and say, you have 2 minutes to get ready. What does that mean? So are we bringing the child to this stage? And how could they come? And when they cry, we're like, I can't believe that you're crying. All I said is, so intention. What is it that we want? How are we communicating? Is it encouraging? Are we telling? Or are we asking? Did we make original agreements with our children on what's going to happen, right? And if they feel surprised, they're not prepared for this yet. And again, we're talking about toddlers. They're very, very capable. So sometimes we forget that they're just young humans trying to figure things out independently.
That's very true. I read somewhere that in positive discipline, we teach a misbehaving child is a discouraged child. I read it somewhere. I think I read it today itself. I think it was quoted by Jane Nelson. And it also further explains that what might seem like a misbehaving child is actually an individuating child or a toddler. So who's just acting age appropriately, right? So could you elaborate on the concept of individuation? What does it mean?
So children, like we said, all of us human beings, including children, this is a Adlerian theory. Every person longs for significance and belonging. It's based on individual psychology. And when we don't feel significance and belonging, maybe in a situation, it could be in whatever that's going on, we tend to go in mistakenly. We try to fit in or we try to belong by showing some of this behavior. So I don't fit in. I can't put my shoes on. I'm going to have this tantrum because I need some help. I need things broken down. Or I am going to not put my shoes on because I want you can't tell me put my shoes on. I'm not ready yet. Or it could be, I just can't put my shoes on because I need your help. So some of those things. So discouraged child is when they need help. It's like plant. And this is Jane Nelson's quote too. Plant needs water, right, to grow. And children need encouragement. So when they are not feeling encouraged, there's low movement, right? They are stuck in this situation. So individual children need encouragement. They need our support. They need our modeling. They need that mutual respect, right? We keep speaking about it. And just looking at the behavior and sort of understanding what the children need. Because sometimes when children are upset or making mistakes, that's the time we try to teach them a new skill. Let me show you how to do it differently. And we forget that brain development and the emotion regulation, the tricks that are happening. So children need time and autonomy. They need time for learning. They need pace. When we have expectations, we could be discouraging them because it's not age appropriate. Maybe it's not developmentally appropriate. So we could have 3 triplets, and all 3 are going to be developing at their own pace. And we just have to kind of watch that and really wait. So it's not because Johnny next door or someone is beginning to do this, therefore my child should be, because they were born around the same time. And just having that expectations and inviting children to accept and invite them, just teach them the skill. Our job is, like the shepherd Maria Montessori said, parents or teachers. Our job is to observe. Let's say if you're on the hill like a shepherd, watch them. When they go close to the hill, bring them back. But other than that, just observe and watch and keep giving them the nurturing that they need.
We spoke about kind and being firm, right? Many a times I've seen either the parents will be overly kind or overly firm. How can we, strike that right balance where, it's not too permissiveness, neither is it too controlling? How can we do that?
So in positive discipline, in our trainings, we have experiential activities, and that would be very much appropriate for this topic and many other positive discipline topics. But as adults, we're looking at right and wrong, good and bad, right? So if I ask everyone here, take a deep breath in. But I don't say take a deep breath out, right? Or breathe out. Neither are going to be really healthy. Yeah. So why do we think we have to be either too firm or kind? Or what do you think of when I say kindness? Right? Sometimes we think, what do you think about when I say kindness? Gentle, soft?
Yeah, gentle, soft, maybe understanding, sometimes to an extent that you are sacrificing your own personal, choices or priorities.
And then the firm?
Firm, being too strict.
Yeah. So sometimes we can think either being too strict or permissive. Yeah. Or, kind and supportive. But if you're just this, but not this, right? So positive discipline, the way I can explain it is it's kind to myself and the situation and to the other individual. Mm-hmm. It's and both. It's having that significance and belonging for both. So when we are firm, we are showing something. So here, this is our agreement. We're getting ready to go to school. Here are the clothes we agreed on. So we can just say, so the kindness would be, oh, sweetie, oh, come on, put those clothes on. Mommy will pick something later. And the firm is, put your clothes now. This is just one example. Or you could be, I understand that you don't want to wear those clothes right now. And what was our agreement about choosing from these two? We need to get going, choose one, and sometimes walking away, right? Giving the 2 choices and being able to, so it's responsibility. This is the time. This is what we agreed to. We're going to follow through. And it's kind, because what is this child learning? We had an agreement and we're going to follow through. And this is how it's done. So it's not mean, it's not kind, it's not, but it's respectful to both, because it's teaching a skill to our young one. And it's respectful for that time and situation.
What can we do, especially when there are siblings and there are sibling rivalries and, we don't know because both are equally important to us, right? So we can't give too much attention or favor to one child and not to the other. So in such situations, how can we deal? How can we deal with balancing the conflict and at the same time not showing any kind of bias to either of them?
So we have each child, and as a parent, what a job that we have, being able to balance work life. So it comes again to the balance. And this is more Montessori, or this is more positive discipline, and both kind of an answer. So when we're raising three children, having guidelines on how we're going to function and making agreements with everyone involved. And again, it's age appropriate. So when we're talking about contributions, having the age appropriate for all three, and switching, right? Switching these jobs the contributions that they offer in our home. So one of the ways that we could do that is one parent is going to be cooking. One child helps with this cooking. The other child has a different job. Because every human being, we want to contribute. We want to be socially useful. We want to belong in a situation. And how does each person feel when they're contributing to a cause? And special situations, so laundry. Children that are younger are learning matching colors, making shapes. So including in that, but the older child who knows where it goes might be able to put those things in a different room. And when the challenges occur, understanding the behavior, where is it coming from? And taking the time to train and giving the skills to the children that are age appropriate. And sibling rivalries happen. And I remember with my children, one of the things this wise man had told us is, remember, they're going to create, you have the scale and you have 2 children or 3 children or more. If you choose one side, what's going to happen? And what is that other child going to do next? So fly united. So if there are more than one parent in a home, fly united. Make sure you know as adults the discipline style that you're going to both embrace. Because if one is firm, one is kind, what's going to happen? So the kind person is going to have all the children going to them and they're going to be overburdened. Oh, they always come to me. But what's the message they're getting? And then more kind one person is, what's the other person going to do? Become a little bit more firm. Now, what did the children learn? I love it. Manipulation. They're going to go back and forth. So modeling, having agreements, having guidelines, and family meetings. Are we meeting regularly? Are we looking at things that are going well in our home? Right? Let's be good finders when they're young. Let's find all the cool things everyone's doing in our home. And then when we have a meal, we're going to take turns in sharing what you notice someone else did. So instead of looking for problems in our home, now we're looking for things that are going well. So we're shifting the vision and inviting children to be more encouraging of one another. So chances are the sibling rivalry is going to turn into more appreciation. And of course, they fight because it's about positions. So Dr. Jane Nelson and Lynn Lott's book talks about birth order, right? So you have that first child, and they've been the one and only, and they get dethroned when the second child comes around. And they're the apple of our eyes. And what's going to happen from that older child, right? And then the younger one is like, look at me, and I am. And then you have the third child. Ooh. And then it depends on the age. They could be the youngest, or only if it's more than 5.5, 6 years of difference. So looking at the birth order is really important. And understanding all of this really helps us navigate how we can respond to their needs. And also understanding that every child, we can't help it. They're constantly observing the situation from their own lens and adding more and more different colored glasses based on what they're seeing and what they're interpreting on I am, others are, the world is. And they're going to show up.
Wow.
Parenting is so exciting, isn't it? Because if it was just every child just was obedient and did everything, and I think what sometimes I wanted or we all want as children to obey when we're exhausted. And that's the time they really show us something about ourselves. They teach us every day.
Yeah, yeah, I see that with my daughter. And what is beautiful is when she is upset and she needs space. I would say most of the time, not all the time, but I definitely give her space, and it works. When I'm frustrated or when I am not in a space where I can give her right kind of quality time to her, or where I can be uh, all ears to her, she gives me space. So yeah, I mean, I think it comes from that place of mutual respect. When we want the respect, we have to give the respect and treat them equal when it comes to understanding each other. We just cannot expect ordering and then having a child who's just here like somebody like a puppet who's following just all the orders and has no say in whatever they're doing. So that's unfair, and yeah, that's not what we want our children to become as they grow.
Yeah, so absolutely. You spoke about the mutual respect, and it's that the firm and the kind, and just looking at this whole modeling that we're doing. How are we developing this? What are some of these skills, and how are they going to help them in the long run, right? So imagining all the things that we're doing when they're adults, all the qualities that we want in them, like life skills, maybe resiliency, critical thinking, problem solving. It's all happening right now as they're toddlers. And they don't know how to communicate with us and say, Mom, I'm feeling this way. How can you? They just can't. They can't communicate all of the feelings. So perhaps having those emotions we talked about earlier, and we could even take pictures or show pictures, right? Or make faces and say, let's see what happens when we're angry. What kind of faces do we make when we're angry or when we're happy? And having those pictures, and they can identify, how are you feeling right now? Let's look at the picture. And when they can have that ability to do that, and autonomy, that space, that moment to self-construct or take in the moment.
Yeah. One thing that I do sometimes is when she was young, I used to take her in front of the mirror, and I'll ask her to see her expressions, her facial expressions, when she's upset or when she's happy. Most of the time when she was either crying or upset about something, I would just take her in front of the mirror and ask her to watch herself, and then I'll ask her to say, smile and see how your face changes. And that really worked. So now it's the other way around. When I'm upset or when I'm showing any kind of unwanted emotion in front of her, she takes me to the mirror and says, watch your face and just let me know how will it look if you were smiling. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's coming back to me.
Our little teachers. Oh, what a joyful time to have a toddler or any young child, though they're challenges.
Yeah.
That's how they're learning. Wow. And they're teaching us, right?
Yeah. Now she's grown up. When she was young, yeah, that's what I used to do. And now when she's 11, she is doing that to me.
11.
Yeah. We had a wonderful conversation and so many takeaways. I love the idea of family meeting. We do it, but we are not consistent. And yeah, I think every family should actually think about having these kind of meetings where we can have a time when we are appreciating each other's effort. Because I think, especially in our culture, I've seen it takes very hard. It's very hard for people to appreciate others' work, and it comes from family. Most often in our culture, I've seen if somebody does nowadays, it has become now people overdo it. Parents overdo it, and earlier it was not done at all. As in, appreciation was not given. Why? Because they thought their child will become spoiled. The children were always acknowledged or always pointed at when they made a mistake, but people were always silent when they did something good. And that has, inculcated in the personality in such a way that it's very hard for us to appreciate the other person's work, but it's easy to point out, raise a finger on somebody who's making a mistake. So having these kind of meeting, and first, starting from home itself, appreciating each other's effort, it's so important. I love the idea. Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that with me, with us, with everybody here.
absolutely. May I add that family meetings, remember you mentioned sibling rivalry and problems that occur.
Yeah.
So that's the opportunity at family meeting. We could say, instead of in that moment, let's write it down and we'll discuss it at family meeting.
Yeah.
And then you bring up that problem and say, we're going to pass a stick around
Yeah.
and everyone gets to have a solution to this problem. And we've started with acknowledging one another, appreciation. You can give, get, or pass. Now we have a problem. We have the agenda item. And we can rotate on who takes notes. If you have, 11-year-old can definitely take notes or host a meeting, so we're not always in charge. And looking at that problem and looking at all the solutions and asking the person who put the problem to choose a solution they would like to try out. So what are we doing in that moment when the problem occurs? We are not addressing it. They feel hurt. It's going to be discussed. And by the time the problem is, the emotions are definitely not as strong. And when we're creating solution circles like this, what's going to happen? Everyone's learning. The youngest, oldest, even us, we're surprised because we go to that, what's not working. The fear-based parenting is what I say. As growing up, my parents always pointed out all the things that I needed to do better.
Mm.
And in the effort, what you said, not hoping to get, spoil you, compliments were rare. In my case, my father was very encouraging. He wasn't complimenting, but he was encouraging always. After we made a mistake, he always sat us down. However, because of the cultural aspect, I had learned to hide my mistakes. And even into adulthood, mistakes have become really painful. And that happens, as you mentioned, in childhood, because it's always, what can you do better? It's never good enough. The bar always gets raised, and you always feel like you're never going to achieve it. And then when you make a mistake, you're afraid that you're not going to belong or feel significant because they're going to judge you, that you start to not share or fib. Because I think, how do children learn to fib? Adler talks about, because the truth is unbearable because the consequences. So maybe lying is a safer route in that moment. And then we punish the children because they've lied. But let's look at the behavior and purpose. Why is it that they had the need to say this or that? So when we look at our children and create that opportunity, this is a bigger piece when you said looking at and both, firm and kind, and mutual respect, looking at, including them into some of these problem solving. I appreciated what you said. I think cultural aspect of it. We want perfection. We want honesty. We want all of those things. And we can develop all those things using some of these lovely methods that are encouraging rather than discouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was wonderful. We had a wonderful, set of questions and answers and our insights. I mean, thank you for your beautiful insights. I want to ask, how can we reach out to you, Yogi, if somebody needs to, have some, suggestions or just seeking a training from you? How can one reach?
So there is a website this week. I'll be launching a new website next week. So current website is heartfeltparenting.org. Mm-hmm. And as of next week, we're going to have yogipateltte.com. yogipateltte.com will also have some articles of exactly what we spoke about, some blogs. There are some videos and all of the trainings that I am offering. So heartfeltparenting.org has a variety of trainings for early childhood educators, positive discipline in the classroom, teaching parenting the positive disciplined way, empowering people in the workplace, and much more. There is actually a session that I'm doing in December, and it speaks about creating the life that you want. And it could be your family, finances, love, work. Like, so all aspects, where are you now? Where do you want to go? And anyone who's taken the training with me in the past can join at no cost, and otherwise is 25 US dollars. And then we will meet twice a year to make sure and help one another make sure that we're accountable and what the goals were set. Because often we create this New Year goal and then we kind of forget about them. But in this way, we're going to be able to. So my job, what I love doing is planting the seed for growth like flowers. I love encouraging and empowering people. So what a better way to do it than just offering some of these tools. So I hope to speak about these topics and see other questions as well.
What a beautiful idea. I love that. Yeah, maybe
I think we can create a better world together.
Yeah, absolutely. When in December?
So the December 9th is the session for Wheel of Life, creating the life that you wanted or would like to have. And next year, I'll be also hosting some coaching sessions for parents. There'll be 6 coaching sessions for parents. And first week, we're going to delve into exactly how to start creating some of these, routines or contributions in our home. And then parents will have a chance to practice for a week. And then the second week, a little bit more. And I'll be doing the same for teachers and leaders, because there are so many leaders, including school leaders, that are challenged on how do you create this balance between providing care for our children, our parent population, and to motivate our teachers at the same time. So social emotional learning, so important right now, especially after we've had some breaks due to COVID-19. And the work that we want to all offer is to support our children in any which way we can, to develop and to encourage and to provide hands-on learning, because nothing goes to the mind without using the hand, right? The hand is the instrument of the brain, Maria Montessori says. And how do we do that? It's not that easy. Sometimes we speak about it and say, oh, just do this. But there are things that happen in between because children have their own goals and ideas.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and we have a good news for our Indian audience that Yogi will be flying down to India next year, and she's going to host a positive discipline course. I think both for educators as well as parents, right, Yogi?
Yeah, if there is interest, we'll do parents, teachers, early childhood educators, as well as K through 12 school leaders or teachers. And if there is time or opportunities, we will do empowering people in the workplace.
Yeah, amazing.
So for leadership.
Stay tuned, and we'll be sharing more information on that. I'll also be sharing Yogi's contact, just in case you want to reach out to her directly. And we'll work together. So thank you, Yogi. It was a wonderful session today, and so many new things that we learned. I mean, just not me, my entire audience. And I think everybody who's going to watch this video, I'm going to share this on my YouTube, and Yogi will also share it. So yeah, let's build more, people and have a better future.
Thank you, Madhuri. Thank you for allowing me to speak about stuff I love, and I love talking about this. So I get energized. So my Saturday is going to be filled with energy. So thank you. Thanks, Parag, Parul, and Ramina for joining us, and everyone else who did as well.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, and you have lovely night or a day ahead. Yeah. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.